Hello, everyone. My name is Vicky from Be Well Health. Welcome to our Slim Down and Biggest Winner Challenge webinar. You know, we get so many questions, especially during the biggest challenge, but all throughout the year on how to get healthy, how to lose weight, how to slim down. So I wanted to put a webinar together and have the focus be on nothing else except slimming down and, this is really important, permanent weight control. So the focus today is going to be permanent weight loss, permanent weight control, and permanent health. Many of you, and I wanted to say welcome to all of you. I can tell that we have people from the US, we have people from Europe, so good afternoon and good evening for those of you from Europe. Um, Even before we get started, I'd like to say I really admire and respect all of you. The fact that you're taking time out of your day to listen to this webinar, the fact that many of you have joined the Biggest Winner Challenge, I commend you, and it's really admirable, and good luck to all of you. Before we get started, what I would like to do is believe it or not, and I don't, many of you know my story. Many of you know my own health challenges that I've had. So I'm not going to get into that, but I would like to share a little bit more about my life with you before we get started. The cooking coach, the Fit Club, and the cooking coach, many of you have heard me talk about cooking coach, has a beginning, and that beginning was 30 years ago. I'm holding up for you to see, and this is extraordinary that I've had these for so long, but I'm holding up for you to see menus. These are note cards, and on the front, I have several of them. On the front, they're menus. On the back was my shopping list. So the reason why I'm showing these to you, and I was so excited when I thought about talking about them. When I was 19 years old, I was recently married and I was in college. I was volunteering, working, going crazy like everybody else does with their schedules. And I realized that, I would get home from a long day, either at work or at school. I would get home from a long day and not know what I was going to cook. Being young, and most of my family was in Europe at the time. Being young, I didn't have family around, so I didn't have anyone. I didn't have anyone around to sort of coach me and teach me. So I actually decided that one day I should just sit at my dining room table and pretend as if my kitchen and my health was just like any other job. So honestly, I didn't know anything about cooking. I had started to collect cookbooks because I wanted to get into it. I wanted to, learn. Honestly, at that point, I wasn't as extreme of a health nut as I am now. I was raised on the Mediterranean diet, so I was pretty healthy. But I didn't know, being young, I didn't know as much as I do these days. So I sat at my dining room table with a bunch of cookbooks and started to just flip through recipes. And what I did was, just the way that you all see the cooking coach now, I organized myself. And I always did this, I did 6 days of recipes because I always felt like every cook should get one day off. So I put my recipes together and shopping list and lived my life that way. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because this serious health challenge that I have, doctors have advised me that I really should have had it start when I was in my early 20s. Probably that's when most people are diagnosed with this disease. So, there are reasons why I'm sharing some of these things with you. So back to the menus. I got myself really organized, and I was able to maintain at least getting healthy food in. At that time, what I thought was healthy may not be healthy today, but still, I was pretty organized. Then, fast forward a few years later, I got pregnant with my oldest son when I was a senior in college. Again, not having family around, I didn't have a lot of people to turn to, and I was young. A lot of my friends hadn't even had children yet. So I went to the library. Yes, I said the library. I went to the library. I grabbed, must have been 30 books on being pregnant and health and doing the best that you can during pregnancy. I wanted to learn all that I could. Well, this one little book impacted my life and changed my life forever. There was this tiny little book, and it was called Dangers of Preservatives and What They Do to the Fetus. It was a tiny book. All it contained didn't even have an intro chapter. It just had from A to Z preservatives and what they do to the fetus. I read that book and it changed my life. There were things like BHT, BHQ, nitrates. There were all sorts of preservatives in it. And, at the time, I was 22, 23 years old. I read things in there that were so shocking to me. Well, from that point forward, I truly became this extreme health nut. I started to research. I have spent my life researching preservatives, health food. Centenarians is one of my favorite things to research. I love to research how people actually make it to 100 years old and healthier than most of us, healthier than some of us are at like 40 and 50. So that today, what I'm going to do is talk about some of the things that I have learned over the years on how to maintain health, because maintaining health and finding a way to have permanent health in your life is what really will enable you to slim down properly. This is not a diet. I don't like diets. There are so many fad diets out there. There's paleo diets, low carb diet, low fat diet. I'm going to tell you something today, and if any of you are taking notes, I'll tell you exactly when to take notes so that you never forget something. Here's a place where you need to take a note and remember this. This is the secret to losing weight and being permanently healthy. If you forget about diets, don't ever think about diets again, and focus only on a diet with a high nutrient per calorie ratio. Remember that. It's there are lots of books written on the topic, lots of physicians talk about this, but here's the key to actually being healthy. A diet with a high nutrient per calorie ratio. And I'm going to explain what that means, because once, part of this biggest winner challenge, and I'm going to get into talking about the challenge a little bit more in a few minutes, but part of this challenge is to coach you and educate you on what that specifically means. But just to give you an idea, I actually have a couple things to show you so that you understand exactly what that piece means, because you'll see a lot of our menus, or you'll see a lot of people, or you'll work with dietitians and nutritionists who constantly talk about, fill up on salads, fill up on high fiber. There's a whole lot of confusing things out there. There are so many myths out there about health, but there are so many things that are confusing. I get questions everywhere I go. We get questions on info at Be Well Health. We get a ton of people being so confused and not knowing which way to turn. So remember, a diet with a high nutrient per calorie ratio. What does that mean? Let me show you something. I hope you all can see this. These crackers, or chips as they might be known, are fabulous. They're fantastic. I purchased them the other day from Costco. They have no preservatives. They have things like, I think they have brown rice flour. They have chia seeds. They have flax seeds. They have sea salt. They're fabulous. But so you can snack on them. But here's the thing. So now, if I show you this, and then I show you this, which is a pretty large sweet potato, if I do say so, a sweet potato. Here's the thing. The key to being successful with permanent weight loss is looking at things like that. So if I see this bag that are okay snacks, that I might be craving, some kind of a snack, you have to think about the calories. You have to think about, and I want to be very careful here. I never talk about calories. It's not about calories with me, but it's about the nutrients per calorie. So if I put into a bowl a few of those crackers, I can put a few of those crackers into a bowl, or I can have this huge sweet potato. That's really what it comes down to. So when we talk about nutrients, and that's why a lot of you who have heard me talk in seminars have heard me say this. Nutrient-dense foods. That is the key. Listen, I could live on those crackers. I could, and here's another thing that'll maybe bring it home. I could eat a donut for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The calories will be low. I will lose weight, but I will not achieve permanent weight loss. I will not slim down permanently, and I will not have permanent health. So I feel like so many people are confused. You know, a lot of times you go to the supermarket and you're looking at things like low fat crackers, low fat cereal. A lot of people purchase granola bars, low fat. Oh, these are 100-calorie bars. Forget about all that. Forget you. It will serve you so well if you forget about all of that and start to think in terms of nutrient dense foods. Nutrient dense foods. So, in other words, if you look at, sometimes my salads are enormous. Sometimes my salads look like I'm serving 8 and it's just a salad for myself. But the salads contain things like peppers and radishes and greens, avocado. I should have actually had an avocado to demonstrate today too. And this is why I talk about don't think about calories. An avocado is like over 200 calories for a whole avocado, but it is so nutrient dense that you don't have to think about the fat in the avocados. You don't have to think about the calories in the avocado. It's the nutrients. That is the most important thing to focus on. So here's I would after I feel like I've pretty much hit this point home, and I'm hoping that some of you will have questions afterwards, and I can go into it more. I'd like to actually now talk about some of the tips that I've learned along the way on really being healthy and slimming down the right way. So if you can take notes on this, fantastic. If not, email me and I'll send you these things. I want to give you some of my keys to success, so to speak. Number 1, water. Water, water, water. They have found that people who drink, it doesn't have to be calorie ridden. It doesn't have to be, Pepsis and Cokes and things like that. It can be diet sodas and diet Cokes with 0 calories. But those artificial sweeteners will do things to our body that you can't even imagine. They do funky things in our body, and they prevent you from they'll help you lose weight in the beginning, but will not help you sustain permanent weight loss. So there have been studies after study. I talked about centenarians earlier. Some of the things that I'm going to mention now, the secrets that I'm talking about, so to speak, or the keys to success, are the things that I have learned from centenarians, from interviewing centenarians, from reading about centenarians. Water, 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 water. People who make it to 100 or 110 years old don't drink diet soda. They don't drink fruit juices. They drink water. They drink things like, a lot of people drink tons of green tea, oolong tea, white tea. But if you can remember, first thing when you wake up, have water. The first thing that you should do is not coffee, not a cup of coffee. The coffee's not bad. I'm going to get to that in a few minutes. Coffee's not bad, but coffee on an empty stomach is. It'll ruin your metabolism. So the first thing that you wake up, I advise you 2 glasses of water, and then hot water with lemon, with the juice of 1 whole lemon. So first thing is water. Number 2, 1 cup of whole grains. So many people forget about whole grains. So many, this country, well, and all over the world, we're so consumed with low fat, low carb. People are afraid to eat any carbs at all. You should be afraid to eat carbs, but you should not be afraid to eat whole grains. There have been so many studies that have shown that people who eat just 1 cup of whole grains every single day get slimmer faster, stay slim, and detox. The whole grains are a way for us to detox all the funky stuff going on in our body. So I make sure that I actually think about this. If I haven't had it for lunch, I'll certainly have it for dinner. 1 cup of brown rice. I'm big on, and this is not, I don't have time to get into this now. We'll do another webinar on gluten-free, so I don't have time to get into it now. But I because of all the things that are going on with gluten these days, wheat is not what it used to be. I do like to say gluten-free. I do like to advise people, when possible, to do gluten-free. So the whole grains that I'm talking about are brown rice, millet, quinoa, buckwheat, soba noodles, oats. And quinoa is such a fantastic whole grain because it's so high in protein. Quinoa actually can be higher in protein than animal protein, just 1 cup of quinoa. So if I don't have whole grains for breakfast or lunch, I certainly will have it at dinner. I make sure that I eat them every day. And then So that was number two. Number three now, and this is something that I don't know if many of you are familiar with, food pairing. Some people know it as food combining. There have been tons of books written on the subject from the 70s and 80s into even today. Food pairing is simply this: combining certain types of food actually help us to digest better. Combining too many of the wrong types of foods hurt our digestion. What do I mean by this? You've probably heard food combining being referred to as no protein and starch at the same time. That's exactly it. There have been studies that have been done that show that if you combine protein and starch, the digestion just does not work as well as it should. So here are some of the, I'm going to give you a fast 101 on food pairing. You ready? No fruit on an empty stomach. I mean, sorry about that. Fruit only on an empty stomach. A lot of people will do things like have their lunch or dinner, a huge protein, a little bit of starch, and then they'll have fruit for dessert. That is a no-no. Here's what happens. You eat this big meal or little meal, whatever it is, you eat, and then see, here's the thing. Fruits and vegetables normally take like 35 or 40 minutes to digest. Animal protein takes about 3 hours to digest. So you have this meal, and then you have fruit on top of that as dessert. Well, fruit only takes like 20 minutes to digest. So the fruit doesn't get to go anywhere. It just sits on top of your stomach and starts to ferment. So you don't get any of the nutrients from fruit. It just turns into bad, yucky stuff in our digestion. It is totally inappropriate to do that. So not enough. I wish more health professionals talked about this. Fruit should only be eaten on an empty stomach. So I personally only eat fruit in the morning. I have found it easier. I don't like to think about whether my stomach is empty. Empty stomach truly means 3 hours. I don't like to think about whether it's empty or not. I have a huge bowl of fruit in the morning, and the reason for that is our time to cleanse. That is our time to detox from the day before. Hate to say it this way, but get rid of waste. So I love fruit in the morning because my stomach is totally empty. The other thing, some of the other keys to proper food pairing. So we already said fruit only on an empty stomach. The other thing is combining proteins and starch. Think about this. How many times have you sat down at a meal and people always feel like, oh, I have my protein, I have my starch, I have my veggies. Think about the times that you've actually sat down, and here's a perfect example. You've had a piece of protein, piece of chicken, lean protein. You've had a bowl of beans and some rice. I guarantee you, think back to the times when you have actually done that. I guarantee you that you will be bloated, uncomfortable, completely full. You'll feel like it'll take hours to digest, and you know what? It does. Think about this. The key to being healthy truly is our stomach. But how we digest is extremely important. How we digest everything is extremely important. So when we're digesting improperly, number one, it's making us bloated. It's not helping us to lose weight. And furthermore, when you're not digesting properly, think about it. Everything that you just ate, you're not getting the nutrients from it anyway. So fruit only on empty stomach. Try that. You know what? Here's the thing. I guarantee if you try some of this advice, some of these tips over the next 6 or 8 weeks, you're going to be shocked. You'll be shocked at how differently you'll feel. So try the food pairing. I recommend, if you can, try it. Sometimes it's hard if we have big families to do that. But so protein and starch not at the same time. And here's the other thing. No two proteins together. What do I mean by that? Eggs and beans, chicken and beans, things like that. So really, ideally, especially when you're trying to fix your digestion, a lot of people are suffering from acid reflux. Forget it. It's not, a lot of the times I see people join this biggest winter challenge, not to slim down, just to feel better. So changing some of these things and trying different ways of eating will actually not only help your digestion, but will get rid of acid reflux. If you ever suffer from it, everybody says they suffer from heartburn once in a while. I guarantee if you eat some of this, with a food pairing in mind, you'll be amazed at how differently you'll feel. The other, so we said water, we said food pairing. Let me just check my list. Oh, this is really, I'm glad I didn't miss this. 60-40, 70-30, 80-20. I talked about nutrient dense foods earlier. Um, here's another thing that if you can just focus on, and I don't, I don't mean to give you, I don't want to, I want to give you some rules, and I know it sounds like there's a lot of rules to keep in mind, but there really isn't. So we talked about nutrient dense foods, but now here's the way that I have for years maintained health. I like to say 80-20, but that's a bit much to start with. So do 60-40, 70-30. Look at your plate, whatever it is, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and you'll realize that this is how we do it on the Cooking Coach, on the Biggest Winner Challenge menu and the BBC menu, which I still need to get to, and I will. But look at your meal, look at your plate, and take a look at it. Is it 60 or 70% protein, or is it 60 or 70% nutrient dense foods, veggies, salads, things like that? So start to focus really, if you are especially interested in slimming down, think about that. I like to these days, if possible, it is very hard to do. I like to live by the 80-20 rule. 80% salad and veggies, 20% everything else. And when I say everything else, for me in my life, that is grains, nuts, seeds, nut butters, things like that. So for you, if you whatever else you're eating, lean protein, eggs, chicken, fish, all grains, all of those other things, try to get up to there. Try to get to 70-30 if you can, but start off just being 60-40. The problem that I see with many people is you look at their plate and their plate is mostly protein. Some of the fad diets actually suggest that, but mostly protein and then a few vegetables. We can't get to optimum health that way. There's no way that we can get to be permanent healthy that way. So those are my keys to successful slimming down and permanent health. Um, Now I would like to just explain the Biggest Winner Challenge a little bit. The menu. There are two menus that we have on this challenge: Biggest Winner Challenge menu and Beauty and Body Cleanse. The Biggest Winner Challenge is set up so that we get you started from the first day, and we hold your hand through the whole 3 months. We do breakfast, lunch, dinner. I have basically, believe it or not, it's the way that I live. It's the waters that I do, the green teas that I do, the hot water with lemon. You'll notice huge salads. You don't when you take a look at those and figure out your shopping list. When you look at it, it's going to look like a lot of salads and veggies. I tend to eat an enormous amount of salads and veggies. You don't have to. It might even be too much food for you. So just take a look at it. The great thing about it is you can hop between the two. The Beauty and Body Cleanse is truly the way that I eat. I happen to love veggies. I eat mostly a plant-based diet, and so you'll notice things on the Beauty and Body Cleanse. It's going to look like the Biggest Winner Challenge, except for the meals at night will be things like sweet potatoes, whole grains, salads with whole grains, things like that. So it'll be the BBC menu is a totally plant-based menu. So what I suggest you do if you're starting out and not sure of what to do both. Check out both menus and see which one you like better and do both. And don't forget, the way that we have set up the Cooking Coach is, if you look at the BBC or the BWC menu and you don't like anything on there, you can go to the Heart Healthy. There's diabetic. There is gluten-free. You can check out all the other menus and create your own menu. But just remember some of the tips that we talked about today, and that'll help you. That'll help you get going. And I'm sure that most of you have many more questions about the menus, which I'm looking forward to getting questions from you in a little bit. But here's the thing that I want to just talk about for a second. Most of you who have met me or have seen me on seminars or on Facebook or whatever know what my goal is. My goal is to actually coach and educate you and turn you into experts. Hopefully, with these challenges and the program that we do, my goal is to turn you into experts so that you have the knowledge that you need to live that healthy lifestyle. I'm not going to reach everybody. But here's what I hope to do with the program, to give everyone a choice. Everybody deserves a choice. You know, one of the things I mentioned, the book that I read when I was 22 years old, and honestly, I was shocked. And I remember thinking, how is a person supposed to know? I was walking around grocery stores and supermarkets and health food stores, and I didn't have a clue. I assumed that everything was okay. Well, we can't assume. So the goal with this program is to turn you into an expert so that we reach everyone, and we may not transform everybody's lives. We may not change everybody, but we will definitely give everybody a choice. Um, One of the things that I would like to just mention before we go to questions. I don't know if many of you remember there was a movie, and I don't even really remember the movie so much. It was a great movie. I love Julia Roberts, but I remember the title. So I just want to leave you with three simple words to think about. Eat, pray, love. That was the title of the movie, and I love that title because I love those three words. So eat nutrient dense foods. Pray, pray to God for the strength. You know, many of you, I have a health challenge. Maybe some of you have health challenges. Maybe you just want to lose weight. Pray to God to give you the strength for your commitment to get you on that, to get you to that get you on that healthy path. And then love. Love is such a big thing. Love your neighbor as you love yourself, and love God and love yourself. Why is love so important, and why do I mention it at the end? A lot of people eat for many, many reasons. A lot of people have issues with eating addictions and all sorts of things because of emotional issues. So I find that if we just promoted a little more love and peace, it would make our lives easier. It would alleviate stress. It would alleviate some emotional issues, and it would make life a lot more peaceful. So eat, pray, love. That's what I would like to leave you with. Now I would like to take some questions if any of you have any questions.
One person says, I hope you're doing fine. You look great.
Oh, well, thank you. Somebody just sent in a comment and said that they hope I'm doing fine and that I look great. So thank you very much. Any other questions?
Mm.
Well, if any of you have questions that you think about in the future, feel free to email info@BeWellHealth or email me, and I'll be happy to answer them. And I really, really thank you for joining me today. We're going to be doing webinars on.
We got one.
Oh, sorry, we just got a question, so I'm going to interrupt and just answer this question.
How much exercise should I do every day?
That's a really good question. I just got a question about how much exercise I should do every day. Here's what's interesting about exercise, and a lot of people hate when I say this, but it's the truth, or at least my opinion. Uh, 15 to 20 minutes is fantastic. Sometimes I find that sometimes people who kill themselves in the gym for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then will turn around and not have the knowledge that they need and the education that they need, and perhaps eat the wrong foods. You know what? They've just ruined everything they just did. So 5, 10, 15 minutes, a 20-minute power walk is phenomenal. So I love HIT, high intensity training. If you can't make it to the gym, or even if you can and you don't have a lot of time, if you can find a way, and there are plenty of ways, you can get on the spin bike, you can go for a jog, you can run up and down stairs at work. If you can find a way to just get like 10 or 15 minutes in of high intensity training, and that's just getting your heart rate up. You know, if you here I'm going to explain it just a little bit better. So the idea is warm up. You know, try to warm up for like 5 or 6 minutes, and then do 3 series of at least like 30 seconds. If you're going to run up the stairs, run up and down the stairs for 30 seconds to get that heart rate up, and then relax for a few minutes. You know, calm down, get your heart rate down. Then again, Do the same thing again, do it 3 times. They have found that people who do high intensity training for just 15 minutes per day are so much better off than people who are unfortunately not doing the right types of workouts at the gym and not eating right. So, hope that answers your question.
We have one more. How often do you eat during the day?
The question, we have another question. How often do I eat during the day? Here, truly, when if you get a chance, check out the Beauty and Body Cleanse. That is simply the way that I eat every single day. But I'm gonna run it. I'm just gonna run you through a quick day, just to help you out. I eat breakfast, and this is another thing that I think people, there are so many myths out there. I think I'm going to do a webinar just on myths. There are so many myths out there about breakfast. I hear health professionals say you must eat breakfast. Breakfast is the most important part of the day. Don't eat if you're not hungry. If here, pay attention to your body. If you're not hungry, you don't need food. So if you wake up, I'm starving when I wake up in the morning for some reason. I'm a huge foodie, so I'm constantly thinking about food. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm starving. If you're not starving, don't eat. Wait until your body tells you you're hungry and then eat. But I have breakfast, and then a few hours later, probably around 10 or 11 o'clock, I'll have a snack. I do, if I can find, I shared with all of you that I eat a plant-based diet. I'm a vegan, with the exception of farm fresh eggs. I have been fortunate enough in my town to find an organic farmer who has happy chickens. So I do eat eggs. Those are the only eggs that I will eat. So I strongly suggest, if you eat eggs, really find a local farmer, or at least buy organic. But eggs are not that bad, and the egg yolks are not that bad. So in the middle of the day, I try to have a couple of eggs, and then at lunch, I'll have a huge, huge, huge salad at lunch. Sometimes I'll put grains or beans on it, and then again in the middle of the day, I need a snack. I used to have a thyroid issue that, by the grace of God, has cured it. Well, now I'm 100%. But coconut oil and Brazil nuts did that for me. So I have 7 Brazil nuts every single day. So in the middle of the day, I'll count out like 7 Brazil nuts. I'll have walnuts, hazelnuts, macadamia nuts, almonds, and I'm not so afraid of nuts. I think if you do everything that you're supposed to be doing, yeah, I have a couple handfuls of nuts, and people panic and freak out and say things like, "Oh, all the fat and the calories." I don't pay attention when it's healthy fat and healthy calories. I don't pay attention. Then, told you I'm always hungry. So at around 6 o'clock, I'm looking for dinner. And again, I love sweet potatoes at night. I love bean soups. I do a lot of lentil soups, black bean soups. I always start my meals with salads because I like to fill up on fiber. I like to make sure, getting back to the nutrient dense foods, I like to make sure that I know that I have filled my stomach up with nutrient dense foods. And then, you know what, if you sit down to a huge meal, you're probably not going to be able to eat what you're not supposed to eat. So that's just sort of a trick that I do with myself to always make sure that I've gotten what I'm supposed to get. And then I don't really eat late at night. I stop eating. I always stop eating I never eat after 8 p.m. So that's another thing, that probably why I'm hungry first thing in the morning. But that's another important aspect. So hopefully that answers your question.
What about chocolate?
Oh, I just got a question on chocolate. I love chocolate. Here's what I will say about chocolate. And it's funny. I mentioned to all of you that I've been researching my whole life, researching health, researching centenarians. I've used myself as a guinea pig. All the things that I talk about and I write about have come from personal experience. So here's what I want to say about chocolate. A lot of us complain about puffy eyes, or things maybe not looking your best. Dark chocolate is fantastic. It is full of antioxidants. I don't mind dark chocolate, but here's what I have found, just from my own personal experience. There have been times when I'm really craving chocolate. I love chocolate. I'm craving chocolate, so I'll pick up a dark chocolate out somewhere, and maybe I haven't checked the ingredients. Well, if it contains sugar, which it most likely does, but if it contains a lot of sugar, I'll wake up the next morning with puffy eyes. So really and truly, if you're trying to look your best and feel your, and remember, if you don't look your best, you don't feel your best. That's why I mentioned the puffy eyes. Um, so the answer on chocolate is very dark chocolate, as low of a quantity of sugar in it as possible. Very low, very dark chocolate is great. A little bit of it, we tend to all overdo it, but don't be afraid of chocolate as long as you can't stick your hands in dark chocolate candy dish and assume that it's going to be good for you just because somebody says it's dark chocolate. You really have to do your homework. So that's my take on dark chocolate. Find some good stuff and enjoy. All right, I think we have more questions.
Yes. How much water to drink for weight loss, and how much water do you drink?
The question is how much water to drink for weight loss and how much water do I drink? My body is so used to drinking water that if I am out all day, from early in the morning until late in the evening, and I haven't consumed as much water as I normally do, my legs actually swell. That's how used to water my body is. So here's how much I'll tell you the recommended and I'll tell you what I do. Most health professionals recommend at the very least 80 to 100 ounces of water a day. I drink gallons. I drink gallons. And here's the thing. I also drink green tea. So here's an important point to remember about water. If you drink a cup of coffee, you need 5 cups of water per that cup of coffee. In other words, any caffeine, even if it's not coffee, even if it's green tea, any amount of caffeine will dehydrate you. So for every cup of caffeine, and green tea has a lot less, it's a myth. People say to me, oh, doesn't green tea have more caffeine than coffee? No, it doesn't. But so for every cup of caffeine, whether it's a little bit or a lot, you have to replenish with water. I have gallons of water. I drink water all day long. I try to drink. Believe me, I'm constantly rushing to the bathroom because I try to have water bottles, glasses of water, pitchers of water next to me, and I like to just make it interesting, like put strawberries in it, oranges, lemons, limes. Before I forget, check out Sassy Water on our website. It's a great way to get more water and it doesn't taste like water. It's made with ginger and cucumber and mint. It's fantastic tasting.
Can you repeat what you said about water and lemon? I missed that part. Should it be warm or room temperature?
Okay, we had a question on water with lemon first thing in the morning. I have found, and you know what? I have been doing the water with lemon every single morning for probably 20 years. I met a centenarian over 20 years ago who had done this her whole life. And I decided if it was good for her, it was going to be good for me. And now, you know what? Guess what? Somebody told me the other day that Dr. Oz had on his show, Hot Water with Lemon. So everybody's talking about it. It's all the rage. I have this love affair with hot water with lemon. The question was, should it be hot or room temperature? I preferred hot. When I met this woman, she recommended hot water with lemon. So what I do is I just, in a tea kettle or in a pot, whatever you have, heat up some water just as if you're making tea. I juice a whole lemon. I put it in a large mug. So I put the juice of the whole lemon in a large mug. I pour hot water over it. And then I start to sip on it like that. I feel as if the hot water with the lemon makes a difference. I'm not sure if that bothers you and you want to do it room temperature. I'm sure that's fine too.
Okay, last one. It looks like, oh, you mentioned to drink water first thing in the morning. This is after you brush your teeth, right?
Oh, okay, that's interesting. We got a question on when to drink water in the morning, whether it's before or after brushing teeth. It depends. You know what? I don't think it matters. I think as long as it's the first thing that goes into your stomach. And the reason why I always mention this is because I think drinking water first thing in the morning gets your metabolism going and prevents you from drinking. Like I didn't really get to this, and I said I would. I apologize. Don't drink coffee first thing in the morning. It's not good for your stomach. It's not good for digestion, and it's not good for your metabolism. So the 2 glasses of water can be before you brush your teeth, after you brush your teeth. It really depends on like what kinds of habits you have and what you prefer. I really don't think it matters as long as it's the first thing that goes into the stomach.
Okay. I can't eat nuts, beans, grains, and seeds. What can I replace it with?
Okay. We just had a question that a person cannot eat nuts, grains, beans, or seeds. What to replace it with? Um, and so I just need to hear from this person again. Can the person that just asked me the question let me know? Are they can they eat can they eat lean protein? I think this question obviously refers to what kinds of protein. Where do they get their protein? But can the person just let me know if they eat lean protein now?
Yes.
Okay. So if you can't eat those things, don't worry about it. Just make sure that instead of it, here's the thing, and just make sure that instead of relying on some of the animal proteins that are not the safest and the healthiest, for instance, I don't believe in a huge amount of red meat. I don't believe in a huge amount of sausages, deli meats, processed meats. So stay away from the processed meats, stay away from a lot of red meat, and focus on lean proteins. Chicken, fish, be very careful with fish. Make sure that it's, very good quality fish. Salmon, sardines, those are fantastic. Um, and eggs, if you can find farm fresh eggs, that would be great. That's my recommendation. And if you can't eat whole grains, just let me. And I would love to hear from you later on. Maybe you could email me, and let me know a little bit more about yourself. I wonder if you could do things like oatmeal made a certain way, just to be able to get it down easier.
And that's it.
All right, those are all of our questions. I really appreciate all of you joining me. It was such a pleasure to connect with all of you and share my tips on slimming down and getting to permanent health. I wish you lots of luck and God bless you.